Yes, you're watching the South Australian Sports Show. Thanks for staying with us. Now, Poppy, I know you're a little bit busy here, mate. You've got your mobile phone going.
Mum.
Your mum.
Mum just texted me. You never leave your mum waiting. I know you'd never leave your mum waiting. That's Mum, Maliva, my mum.
Your mum giving you horse tips. Yeah. Because that's what it looked like. You said, I'll get on that. I'll get on that. I'll bet. It didn't sound like your mum. I'll bring the washing in.
Melbourne race 8, number 8.
All right, mate, we've got to talk footy.
Yep.
Disappointing weekend for Power and Carlton. Let's talk about them first. I mean, Carlton did some good things in the game, but up by 17, 4 minutes to go, and it happens. We've seen it in all sports, be it NBA, NFL, AFL. But what happens with that loss is it's a confidence sapping loss, and it shows that you don't believe you can win. You start playing negative protective footy, which is a very slippery slope to be on for the rest of the year.
You know what? I looked at that game. In fact, I looked at both games, and we'll talk about the Crows and Geelong in just a moment. But that Port-Carlton game, I thought Port should win, and they needed to win to be a top 8 contender. I think I saw that they actually don't deserve to be in their top 8, even though they had some key players out. And you're right. I think a little bit of inexperience coupled with a little bit of lack of confidence means that you're open to be exposed. And they were exposed. A good Port Adelaide side, even a better than average Port Adelaide side, would not have let that game go.
All right, are we seeing a situation where Ken Hinkley, his first year in the job, perhaps overachieved with a young group?
Yeah.
This season, well, I know we're jumping from last year this year, but following a similar pattern to last year,
there's a definite trend.
That they're about where they would be. Now, if you were sitting on the board at Port Adelaide, would you accept that they're a 5 to 10 team, somewhere in that picture, or do you think they're a top 4 team?
Well, no, I think they're probably a top 8 team, but I think this year more than any, it's open to be abused. You might be a 7th or 8th team, and we saw with Richmond last week against Sydney, the competition is very close, but you have to bring in a game. Last week, Richmond brought an intensity that I haven't seen from them all year. But your mindset, and you know this, Phil, you have to be prepared emotionally, mentally, and physically, obviously, to be able to contend with the best. And I don't think I've seen that from Port Adelaide too much this year. They just don't seem to be bringing an intensity and passion for the game. I don't mind as a supporter if I see my team throwing absolutely everything and a bit more at their opposition and going, you know what, we're not good enough. The Crows weren't good enough against Geelong. But from Port Adelaide, they were good enough and they didn't get there.
Look, I reckon sometimes when you're losing, you start to second guess yourself, and that gives that impression that you're not chasing hard. You'll never convince me that the elite athletes of the AFL are not having a go.
Yeah.
And sometimes it just appears like that because can't quite catch you. I just
second to the ball,
if we look at Fremantle, just for an example, I want to try and draw a comparison between them, and I know there's a big difference, but they lost Sandilands this year and they're struggling enormously. Port Adelaide have lost Lobie and they're struggling in ruck.
Yes.
Clearly, you don't get first use of the ball with the style of game that they play, Port Adelaide, and they're struggling with that. And I know it's too simplistic to say it's one thing, but I just sense that that's a really key part for them.
Look, it is, although, see, they got beaten in the hit-outs convincingly against Brisbane, but won convincingly because they rove to opposition ruckman. So they needed to massage their game plan against what the situation presented to them. But as you get against better sides, for instance, last week against Carlton, who are obviously better than Brisbane, they made advantage of their first use of the ball. And I wouldn't expect it's going to be too much different against Natanui and West Coast this weekend. They're in all sorts of bother. What worries me most about Port Adelaide at the moment is that games they're losing will have an effect in weeks to come.
I agree with that.
And that's the thing. So, you know, I don't want to say this season is slipping on by, but it's getting close. It's getting close.
It's because it's Carlton.
Yeah,
you know, is it because and Carlton have been down for so long? Suddenly they've jumped up.
If they gave it up like the Crows did against Hawthorn, the Crows were called chokers against Hawthorn. Now, I'm not sure what we call Port Adelaide other than they're not as good as they're not at full strength.
But what does that say about the other 3 teams that they've beaten? So 4 in a row now. So what we're saying is that Carlton aren't that good. I don't think we're respecting Carlton enough in saying that.
Don't forget,
4 in a row now.
They have, but don't forget it's Essendon, Collingwood. I mean, we're not talking
about... But they're a better team than they were last year.
No question.
I think we're taking a hard hit because it was Carlton. Yeah. If it had happened, it was Hawthorn that did it. We would have gone,
no problem.
Shouldn't have slipped away. But I reckon there's more sting to it.
Yes.
Because we're not respecting that Carlton have made big improvements this year.
Oh, look, I don't disagree with that part of it. Well, it's early days, but we're approaching the halfway mark, as Libby pointed out earlier, pretty quickly.
All right. Up against West Coast, they've been pretty inconsistent themselves, so this is a must-win game.
They can't win away from home to save themselves, unfortunately, the Eagles, but they are coming up against a side that we've already said are lacking in confidence. So, look, it's West Coast Eagles for me, and I'm happy to say I'll be content to be wrong.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the power, and I reckon Bokey's going to break out and have a beauty.
Well, he needs to. He's one of a handful of players that needs to give more.
Sometimes when you're the captain and you're feeling a lot of pressure, and there's a lot of external pressure, you're trying too hard.
Yeah.
And I think Bokey's trying to get to that stage where he's going to put him on his back and he's going to carry him.
Yeah.
I think he needs to just relax a little bit and go back to.
You know what? In any sport,
easy for me to say.
No, but it is. But when you're in their situation, I think they've just got to get back to basics.
I think they're trying to.
Yeah, is that
but
right?
they're also a young group.
Yeah.
I think that's got lost because 2 years ago they were young and did so well.
Yeah.
Now the expectation is, well, you should continue to do well.
Yeah.
And that hasn't happened.
No.
All right, let's have a chat about the Crows. Where do you see them?
Well, as much as I thought Port Adelaide had to win to be a top 8 contender, I thought the Crows had to win to be a top 4 contender. I think we saw the difference between bottom half of top 8 and top half. I also think we saw the premiership side. That Geelong side is super. They're big, strong bodies. They are well organised. They're well coached. They've got big, mobile men. I mean, some of their big men, Blickavs, Stanley.
Well, they've got 3 ruckmen now, 3 legitimate ruckmen.
It's just extraordinary. But they are athletic ruckmen. They're not your lumbering types. And you couple that out with an unbelievable midfield, a good, steady defence. They've got a nice mix of experience and young, enthusiastic talent. Geelong was super, super impressive.
So you're really better than North Melbourne right now?
Yeah, I do. In fact, North Melbourne, I think, are a good side that are going to be. I think you can't knock winning form. You can't knock winning form.
Knows good winning form.
No, but I think North Melbourne are yet to play some good sides. That's when we'll see how good they are.
All right, Crows this weekend. Where do you see them?
They should win. Look, it's going to be away from home. It's up against a side that's suffering more problems than any team in the competition probably at the moment. There's a lot of questions being asked of the Suns. They must win.
Are.
Interesting, they're going to go from playing in front of 50,000 in a massive build-up to less than 10,000 on the Gold Coast. That's in itself is an interesting scenario. Players need to be able to get themselves up.
What if they lost? What if they lose the Gold Coast?
If they lose, they deserve everything that's thrown at them, and I don't even know what might be thrown at them, but it's not going to be good, any of it. They won't lose.
All right, we normally talk as much as we can about South Australian sport, but this guy's unique. Jared Hayne, of course, who's just left his career in the NFL to join Fiji and play in the Super.
How does that work? Did I hear his dad was Fijian born or something?
Dad's Fijian born, so he qualifies. Never played rugby sevens before. Wants to represent Fiji at the Olympic Games.
But is it that hard? Don't you just get the ball and run? And dodge people?
I think there's a few more skills in it than that. That's my question. So he's gone from one sport to try and make it and been exceptional. I mean, he's a phenomenal athlete.
Yes.
Didn't quite get where he wanted to, but still made it and showed enough. Now he's jumped back over to here. Where's his next jump?
Look, I don't know. It'd have to be back here playing NRL, you suspect. But I think what he's doing is giving himself a beautiful background for post-career. He can talk about his time in NFL. He can talk about his time in rugby sevens. He can talk about his time in NRL. There's actually a nice backstory that's been made for Jared Hayne post-career. It's interesting.
All right. Early days, if we wind the clock back, let's just call it 40 years for now. You were able, and Eric Freeman comes to mind off the top of my head. You could play cricket at a high level. You could play footy at a high level. Has that era passed now?
Finished.
You can only play one sport. I mean, we saw Michael Jordan try to jump to baseball. Didn't happen.
No.
Jared Haynes tried to jump to NFL. They're okay.
Yes.
But they didn't quite have the impact they had in their own sport. Do you think we'll ever see it again where one athlete who's elite in his sport would then go on to be elite in another?
I wouldn't imagine it could happen now. And it's been a long time since it has happened. Just the demands of individual sports, I'm just not sure how it could. I mean, the time required, there's too much crossover. So I'd love to be proven wrong. I think it'll be exciting, but I can't see it.
All right, I've been sitting with a lot of the old AFL coaches, when I say old, that are recently out of the job, just discussing the skills of the game, where they see it going, and they're saying too many people now having too much to say. The sports scientist says he can't have an extra 50 kicks after training. Strength and conditioning coach needs him for this. Physio wants him for that. Skills coach wants him for that, but he can't have him because of this. Have we got away from... There is a piece of cake for everyone, but there are some big pieces that need to be there. Game day is most important.
Yes.
Certainly skill's got to be next, doesn't it? Does it appear to you that we've shortened the piece of cake on skill?
Well, you know what I love about football that can't really be taught, and that's instinctiveness. And I reckon Blighty let players play with an instinctiveness, something that can't be controlled.
But he was the first coach to get the footies out for pre-season training.
Agreed. No, and that's the thing, that you need a combination. But there's a requirement of skills, there's a requirement of fitness, and there's a requirement of game plan. But you know yourself, at an elite level, you've got to let your best players do what's instinctive, because sometimes they don't even know what they're going to do next. So how does a defender defend that? Whereas a game strategy can be defended against. I think the only piece missing that I love to see is that flamboyant nature of a beautiful player that can turn a game on its head like that.
Yeah, look, I personally think we've got away from not enough skill work. I don't think we need massive amounts, but need to shorten other things and bring skill back to it. We need to go to a break. Stay with us. Plenty more to come. No, there isn't plenty more to come because we're finished, haven't we?
We're finished.
Yeah.
But
I got so excited about it, I thought we could just keep going.
Well, we can. We'll do it off air.
All right, hope you enjoyed the show. Stay with us next week, everybody.